Alright guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'll be covering an update or part 3 to the story I did a few days ago, which is titled, After Being Used Multiple Times, Man Unleashes Epic Revenge, but Goes to the Dark Side in the Process. And guys, in the comment section, you guys asked for more details, an update about Victor and the other gals in the story, and the guy listened, and here you go. But as a recap, that's all about the guy from the two-part story I did, who was your typical clueless nice guy, was literally conditioned to be a nice guy by the family and all that, and eventually, when enough's enough pushed too far, polar opposite. Goes the opposite side of the spectrum, becomes a complete and total a-hole, and definitely got a lot of girls and all that and stuff like that, but became what he most despises, a guy that would cheat, who would hook up with girls that were married in relationships, and it was just bad. But eventually, then he got past that lifestyle, and now here he is where he is today. And again, I shared that story, making the point what happens when guys are pushed too far, how guys can go to the dark side, and really emphasizing trying to find the balance between being a good guy, but finding the balance between being a nice guy and the bad boy type. You know, essentially a good guy who has boundaries and stands up for himself. Well, anyhow, he's writing in the update because a lot of you guys, you asked about the guy Victor, how they became friends and that type of thing, and more details in the situation. So I figure it's worth, since he sent it in and you guys asked, I'm going to cover it. So jumping back into his story, or his update, he says, Howdy SSM. I'm emailing you from this address to respond to some comments and give some more context to the situation. First, yes, I was blue-pilled hard. Yes, you were, sir, but you know what? You didn't have this material back then, and you were literally conditioned to be that way given your family situation. You wouldn't believe how much I wanted to beat the ever-living crap out of my younger self. If I had a commentary for every stupid thing I did back then, my email would have been the size of a novel, and you would have surely gotten demonetized. No, it wouldn't have. People just would have stopped listening at some point. In short, I know how much of an idiot I was, and I deserved every one of your smacks that you gave me. Well, the real smacks came for after what you did afterwards when you were knowingly hooking up with married women in relationships. You know, I was more merciful early on because you didn't know any better. And you were conditioned to be a nice guy, blue pill guy. Second, it was indeed Jessica who got threatened by Victor that day, not Jenny. I screwed up and made up names that I used for code names. I also effed up the Daniel reference from the Karate Kid. As a huge fan of the original trilogy growing up, I should have gotten smacked for that too. Okay, smack! Don't mess up the Karate Kid. Third, Victor. He says, I have a question. Why the heck are there so many fanboys for Victor in the comment section? Well, probably because Victor is a guy that didn't take crap from anybody. And he was a guy that put the 304s in their place and treated them accordingly. Simple as that. That's it. Honestly, I wasn't expecting you to cover my email, but on the off chance you did, I knew I'd get torn apart by your community. What I didn't expect was for the majority to say Victor did the right thing, and that I got everything I deserved. WTF. Well, again, you know, you guys are buddies now, been buddies for a while, and I think he would have told you at this point, he didn't know she was in a relationship. And you came up at him and yelling at him and everything, getting in his face. And even after he ended it with her on the phone, then you punched him. You know, I'd whoop your ass too. Anyhow, to disappoint the DICK writers, Victor is not going to write to you, SSM. My girlfriend and I visited my sister's place yesterday, and we showed him the videos, and I regret the decision, but whatever. I didn't expect Victor to write me. Just doesn't seem like the type. By the way, he said you totally effed up his impression. His words, not mine. He asked me to send you the footage from that day for reference, when they got into that fight. Yeah, I'm not doing that. I asked him if he'd be willing to write to you, but he refused. Unfortunately, despite how he behaves, he doesn't really watch our pill stuff much. Well, he's a guy that obviously through his tough childhood beginnings became that way on his own. He doesn't need to watch it. I'll answer some questions regarding him and me. How did he and I become friends? That is the number one thing the guys wanted to know. Honestly, I don't really remember myself. As you know, Victor and I were in the same college, and before that, fiasco at his place, I see him a couple times around. After Jen and I broke up, she went back to him. He took her back into his roster because she was single again. I heard that from mutual friends, and even though I was getting over Jenny, that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Well, he had a big roster. Obviously, Jenny put out, and probably Jenny was chasing him now. Probably would do even more crazy stuff with him. After getting discharged, I started taunting him every time I saw him. Don't ask me why I was doing that. Dude, for goodness sake. Later, he told me I was acting like a 5-year-old little brother. Well, you were. Victor and his adoptive parents are relatively close in age, so back then his siblings were still pretty young. In hindsight, I really was acting like a 5-year-old. As I said in my previous email, after recovering from my injuries, I got into boxing. And by the way, I did not have a broken nose. My jaw was dislocated along with some other minor injuries. Okay, that's why you're in the hospital. Anyhow, I don't remember what sparked that literally brain-dead conversation, but I mentioned I was going to a boxing gym when I was effing with him one time. He asked me which one and where I trained, and when I trained. I didn't think much of it and said such and such club at the time and such time. Well, the next week, Victor showed up at the boxing gym. In other words, he's going to, clock you another time for being a cocky little shit. Frankly, I don't know why he wasted his time, but you ended up as friends. He got a membership there and asked me to spar. If I remember correctly, I've been training for less than 1 month at that point in time. My stupid pride made me agree, and you could probably guess what happened. Smack, dumbass. So many guys they'll start boxing or karate or martial arts or self-defense or whatever, and they'll do it hard for a month, and next thing you know, they think they're fucking Rocky, or a ninja. And it's like, and then they put on the sparring gloves and the headgear, and they get hit one time, boom, they're down. Nope. Then they're humbled. The second time when he asked me to spar, I remember my trainer tried to intervene because of the one-sided beatdown I got previously. But my ego took over again, and I didn't back down. This time, I still got my ass kicked, but he also gave me a lot of pointers on my footwork and stance. Over time, it almost became like he was training me. This is a very strange origin story to your friendship. A lot of times, there are times in school when guys can end up being enemies and get into fights, and they eventually become friends. It's kind of strange that way. Yeah, he took you in as his annoying little brother. I don't remember exactly how things progressed from there, but I went to my first shooting range with him. He taught me some MCMAP techniques he learned from his time in the Marines. Oh, he was in the Marines. That's why he was a lot older when he was a freshman. So there you go. And I even got my first tattoo based on his recommendation. I didn't even realize we were friends until one day I asked about Jenny. He said he ended things with her. When I asked him why, he said to me that he doesn't go for his buddy's exes. The irony of that son of a bitch. Well, there you go. You became friends. You wore him down. He's like, God, this little fucker needs my help. The problem is that, the direction you went in. He says, anyhow, that's how we became friends, I guess. Next up, Jenny and Stacy. Okay, well, we know what happened to Stacy. Remember, guys, Stacy is the one that pulled that shit when he was in high school. And our guy then later on in time, when she was married, after he really changed who he was and started acting like a Chad, he went and seduced her, hooked up with her, then told her husband immediately that she cheated on him with him. But he still went back to her. I mean, the husband still took her back. Guys in the comments asked what happened to Jenny after all those years. Remember, Jenny's the one that was sleeping with Victor, but Victor didn't know he had a girlfriend. After reading those comments, I was curious too. Like I said before, it's been a couple of years since I heard anything about Stacy. As for Jenny, I hadn't seen her since graduation. Well, apparently lots of guys have seen her, and we'll get into that in a moment. After what happened with Stacy, most of my high school friends that I stayed in touch with ghosted me. I don't blame them at all. What I did was a dick move. But even so, I still have some good friends from high school that I talk to. One of them was still acquainted with Stacy, and as far as I know, so I called her. When I asked about Stacy, she was hesitant for obvious reasons. Now, he didn't call Stacy, he called a mutual friend of Stacy to find out some dirt. But eventually she told me about how Stacy's doing these days. She and her husband from back then were separated. Not because of me, it's because Stacy cheated again. And I'm not surprised in the least. Neither am I. Once a cheater, always a cheater. Her affair partner this time is apparently a wealthy guy in his 50s. She was planning to divorce her husband to be with him. They're always monkey branching, guys. It never stops. She even moved in with the guy. But now, from what my friend told me, she's reconciling with her husband. Yeah, because the wealthy guy kicked her out. They're going to marriage counseling to fix their marriage. Why this dope isn't running for the hills, I will not understand. Another clueless white knight who needs my channel. She's telling everybody that she made a huge mistake and came to her senses. She also announced that they're going to have their third child soon. You can't make this shit up. Nope, you can't. This is why I think my channels are popular and these stories are popular. Truth is stranger than fiction, but nothing surprises me anymore. Once a cheater, always a cheater. Once a 304, always a 304. And that's probably the wealthy guy's baby. Her husband, that poor fool, I think I know exactly what happened. She met a rich guy, tried to monkey branch, the rich guy banged her, knocked her up, then booted her out after getting bored with her. I hope that sucker of a husband doesn't really believe that the baby is his. Who knows, but, he'll take her back. You should message that husband of hers and tell about my channels. Even if he doesn't DNA test a kid, he should be able to figure out based on when the child was conceived, right? Never had a kid, hopefully, but it should be easy to figure out if it goes to those doctor's appointments with Stacy. But who knows? From what I know, he's a hardcore Christian. Maybe he knows and took her back despite knowing that the baby isn't his. He already adopted her first kid. I really hope at least Stacy's middle child is actually his. Flip a coin, man. You see, guys like that, like Stacy's husband, you reach a point you don't feel bad for anymore. They deserve to suffer when they keep repeatedly being screwed over by their wives or girlfriends, and they keep taking them back like fucking idiots. I don't feel bad for him. Now on to Jenny. Okay, the part everybody's been waiting for. I looked Jenny up online and found her Instagram. Well, she's apparently Insta-famous, now with 68,000 followers. Shocker. And I'm sure it isn't just pictures of her and her cat, or she's showing a different cat. Jenny looked a lot different. She got Botox and some surgeries because her face looks completely different. Her boobs look way bigger too. Definitely got a boob job. Generally naturally had a big butt though, so I don't think she got the BBL. Oh, that'd be funny if she did. Man, a lot of disgusting things happen from the BBLs, the Brazilian butt lifts. She was naturally gorgeous back in the day, at least from the outside. Now she looks like one of those Kardashian clone silicone dolls. At first, I thought it actually wasn't her, but after looking around more and more, it's definitely her. She's posting pictures wearing gym shorts, bikini pictures, etc. She's also posting photos and reels that were blatant thirst traps. There's a link tree on her Instagram. Aha, I know what that's linking to. If you couldn't tell by now, she's doing OnlyFans. Of course, only hoes. I couldn't look anymore because my girlfriend was there. I was doing this for research purposes, but she doubled my academic intentions and got mad. Well, since I wanted to update you, I wanted to know a little more about her life. But unlike Stacy, I didn't have any friends who stayed in touch with Jenny after graduation. Who would want to? I'm sure Victor could reach out to her and she'd be more than happy to accommodate him. I was about to give up, but Victor said if I really wanted to know, I could message Angie, Jenny's college best friend. Victor said he might still be friends with Angie on Facebook, but he wasn't sure. Well, was Victor banging Angie too? I'm sure he was. Well, he was. Well, he was banging her, or well, he was connected to her. Well, I was at my sister's place when this conversation happened. Back to your sister. Victor used to be friends of benefits with Angie. Okay, there you go. And my sister was not happy about him being friends with Angie on Facebook. I think I forgot to mention this in my first email. My younger sister married Victor. What the fuck? Are you shitting me? Good God in heaven. Is she aware of Victor's his past life? Probably. In fact, let me rephrase that. Bet your ass. And in her mind, she got the king. She got the guy that every gal freaking wanted and hooked up with. Because to her, that's the prize. And that's how their minds work. Not to knock your sister, but it's the fucking truth. And I bet you Victor, when he was done his phase, if you will, how he was when he was younger, probably was able to, take a rest, get married, and probably never cheat on her. I mean, some guys would, but there are guys that could be like that when they're younger and be like, all right, can I have my sons, have a family? That's that. But a gal that was like him, nope, they can't do that because a guy can pair bond. Women can't. He married your sister. Oh, good God. Anyhow, and I have a nephew who's going to be a month old soon. I know, please don't ask me anything about it. You can't put that out there and not have lots of... That's going to be the #1 comment in this whole video about Victor marrying your sister and all the jokes and comments there. Damn, dude. Anyhow, but at least I got Angie's account. She lives in Germany now and is married to a guy there. And I sent her a friend request and she accepted and we talked. Well, Jenny's life after graduation was pretty normal for the current world. She got a job, married a guy, quit her job, and now does, wait for it, OnlyFans. And her loser husband allows it. Her husband is apparently okay with it all. Smack to the husband. She doesn't do solo content either. There are other men in her videos, by the way. Her husband's a big, giant, stupid-ass cuck. See, these girls... Here's my point, guys. Stacy and Jenny. They'll have their hose phase. I'm speaking in code here. And then when they're ready, they find that nice guy, like what you were, dude. You were the show. A nice guy who's clueless to put on, to be the guy that won't cheat on her, that will marry her, put on the public show. Right? Right here. And they'll stick around, and they know it. So don't be that guy, guys. You do your homework on the girl you get involved with. And if there's nothing changed about you and no girl paid attention to you when you were younger and all of a sudden they are, the odds are they're doing it for resources. You're that nice guy they put on the show with. This is probably not going to make it to another video, but if it does, he says, Ashley, I didn't sub her OnlyFans or anything. Just look at Jenny's socials. You can figure it out there. That was a message to his present girlfriend who's going to watch this video. Smack! Dude, she knows you're not subbing to her OnlyFans, for God's sakes. Hello, Angie, the girlfriend. Sometimes I wonder if karma is even real. Despite what Stacy and Jenny did to me, these women are living a life without a care in the world. Oh, their lives are shit, dude. Both found cucks to become fallback options after blowing up their lives and bad decisions. I've read countless stories where the cheating ex's life goes to hell in a handbasket, but at this point I'm wondering if most of these stories are fan fiction. No, most people's lives go to shit when they go too far. It just hasn't happened yet in your situation. But do their lives sound very good to you? I mean, really? Give it time, you'll see more. Well, that's all I wanted to say. And by the way, thanks for covering my story, my brother. My girlfriend laughed every time you smack me in those videos. I think she's going to become one of your 4%ers soon. Well, good. Well, smack again. That's for your girlfriend. Thanks again. Thank you once again for what you're doing for young men out there. Regards, Adam. Well, Adam, I appreciate you writing in because a lot of us are curious about how in God's name you and Victor became pals, but it happens sometimes. And I think it's hilarious and crazy all at once that he married your sister. Good God in heaven. But hopefully he's like one of those guys that he retired his ways and is now loyal to her and protective of her and now has a son there and all that. And you're going to have little players for nephews growing up one day. And that's that. But I wish you all the best. And again, dude, don't fall back into your ways. And your whole story made the point, guys. Don't go to the other end of the spectrum. Become a fucking piece of shit a-hole. Find the balance between the nice guy and the bad boy. Essentially a good guy who stands up for himself, doesn't put up with any shit. And there you go. Not that difficult. All right, guys, that is it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. I'm sure you like the video. Share it with your friends and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.